Hey gang, AV here, and welcome to my review for the Boss Fight Studios Vitruvian Hacks Knight of Asperity, the Chaos Agent. Here he is in the packaging. As you can see, he's a carded figure, but it's not a blister card. These are collector-friendly packaging. You just fold the flaps up, remove the card, and you can actually have the figure out of the packaging, display it, and then put it back in as though it were never removed. I have mixed feelings about this, as I'm sure you've heard in previous videos of mine, so by now. Bottom line is, because you can take the figure out and put it back in, sometimes with all the accessories that these come with, sometimes something may get lost or just forgotten to be replaced. So you want to make sure that everything is as visible as you can. Everything is visible as far as you can ascertain inside the package before you actually purchase it, because it would stink if you actually purchased this and then got it home and realized something was missing. So anyway, this is the front of the card. As you can see, it's got some nice original artwork on there. I really am a fan of the artist who does these figures in this line. It is an adult collectible, so if you're a kid, stop watching. And this is his name, that's his occupation. HACS stands for Highly Articulated Character Kit System, which basically means that you can dismantle the figure, remove a lot of the parts, interchange them with other figures to make new characters, and so on and so forth. It's very easy to kit bash. It's very easy to customize. These figures are fantastic if you like to diversify your toy collection. Let's flip these over, and as you can see on the back of the card, there is a file card, which I am a huge fan of. As you can see, it is roughly about the same size as a G.I. Joe file card, and if you would like to read it, feel free to pause the video and do so now. Once again, I'm a big fan of the fact that they do this. I wish other companies did this. It really helps flesh out the characters and just adds the new layers of depth to the story and the characters in the toy line and whatnot. I wish a lot of other companies did that as well. This is the first and second wave of the fantasy series. I forget what wave they're up to now. It's at 5 or 6. There are several different figures available. I have most of them. I've already done reviews for most of these already, so be sure to check out my channel. If I haven't done a review for one of these figures yet, just keep your eyes open. It's coming, because like I said, I've got most of them, so just give me time to get it up there. This QR code will take you directly to the Boss Fight Studios store. So feel free to use that, or just type in the address above it. Apparently there is also an app which you can download. I haven't done that yet, but maybe I'll do that when I'm done filming this here. Pretty sure you can purchase toys from the app as well. I've always gone directly to the website personally. But anyway, without further ado, let's get the figure out of the package. We're going to do that by flipping this plastic flap and tucking it underneath the card, and then we're just going to slide the card out and move the figure tray and the contents tray. It's that easy. Figure's out of the package. Let's set this up and get a better look at them. Alright, so as usual, we're going to go over the accessories first. In this bag here, normally if it was just his hands, I would have skipped the bag, but apparently his leg armor is in here as well, and I have to show that off. So we're going to cut the tape on the bag. That's another thing too, the tape is not very forgiving on these bags, so if you plan on removing your figure and then putting it back in the package exactly how you found it, you may not want to open the bags, just for sake of argument there, because it will stretch the plastic on the bag itself, or it will just rip. Anyway, it's almost impossible to put things back in the bag exactly how you found it. So anyway, I digress. Here is his figure stand. It says Boss Fight Studio on it. It's in the shape of their logo. It's got 2 foot pegs, as you can see. And even though it looks kind of funny, it works great. I mean, it keeps the figure upright and well balanced. And I actually use this for other figures as well, ones that don't come with figure stands, because these are pretty abundant. They come with the accessory kits. They come with the Gorgon figures that have snake tails, so obviously they can't use these. I've got more of these than I have Boss Fight figures, and I use the extras on other action figures. They work quite well. He's got an extra set of hands that was also in that little bag. I'll go over these in more detail when I actually look at the figure itself. Here are his thigh armor pieces. They have a rectangular peg, so they do plug directly into the sides of his legs. I have had some that go in there and they fit tight and nothing, you never have to worry about it again. And I've had others that are quite stubborn. I guess your mileage will vary depending on your luck of the draw, but normally they just plug right in there, and usually they stay in there, but sometimes they do get a little loose. So you just want to keep an eye out. I'll put his other one on too. That way he's symmetrical. See, now this one's giving me a little bit of an issue. And again, that's why I do these videos live. I don't edit them. I want you to see if I have a difficulty with anything. And it's in there, but I'm not confident that it won't fall out. We'll see how we go throughout the course of the video. Anyway, while I'm holding the figure, we'll have a good look at him. Head sculpt for the skull is fantastic. I'm not sure if it's going to be visible on camera if I adjust the light, maybe. But you can maybe barely see that his eyes are painted red. So he has red eyes inside those black, lifeless slot, which is very cool. This is a different sculpt than the skulls on the skeletons that you can purchase, because this has a permanently closed mouth. The other skeletons have articulated jaw, and they don't fit as flushly on the neck. They do fit if you use the barbell peg, but they don't fit as flushly on the neck. But they still work. Anyway, this is a completely different head sculpt on this guy. His articulation will be hindered if you were to put his spiked shoulder pads on, but not as much as you may think. This is the left, so we're gonna put that on his left shoulder there. As you can see, it was a little off center, so you obviously want it to hang over his shoulder. And it will get in the way of his arm articulation, but not much. He can kind of do a 360 regardless, even though it's there. His arms will go up about that far. There's nothing at the bicep. He can do 90 degrees with his elbow, but he can't do a full 360 because of his elbow guard. His hands are on a peg, so they can rotate 360 degrees, and the sculpt on this particular hand has a hinge that goes up and down. The extra set of hands that he comes with as you can see, plug plug right in, no problem, and they bend in and out. They give you both sets of hands so that you have options when it comes to posing your figure, depending on which accessory or weapon you want him to hold. He can hold it more comfortably, depending on whichever way his wrist is bending. He does have a ball joint at the abs, which arrange for a good amount of motion there. There is a swivel at his waist, but it is hindered by this, and it is a very tight swivel. It's just basically something that helps hold the figure together, but it is there. He can put his legs up about this far. He can do the can about that, like that. He's got double jointed knees, so he can put his ankle back about like that. He can rotate a full 360 at the ankle peg, bend his legs back about that, or feet back about that far, and bend his toes up about that far. Decent articulation on this guy, despite the fact that he's armored, and that's always a good thing. All right. Now, because I completely skipped all the other accessories, let's have a look at the other stuff he comes with, shall we? All right, so here is his axe, and as you can see, it is a lot different than the Asperity axe, or the Accord axe, excuse me. There's a figurine sculpted at the top. It's very stylized with the flared blades. It's got a molded and painted strap going up and down the handle. It's a very nice accessory. It's very iconic and epic looking, I think, is the word I'm looking for. All right, he has a... Let me get them out of there before I lose them. He has a shield, same as the regular knight figures. This one has a different detail on the front, obviously. And there he is, painted at the back. As I've said before, this is a pretty soft plastic, so bending this to get the figure's arm in there is no problem at all. He has a sword and a scabbard or sheath. Sheath has different molding on it than the other knight figures. It's got a peg there to fit onto his belt, and the sword fits in there pretty snugly. The sword itself is a rigid plastic, and it is a little sharp, but not as sharp as the actual spikes on his armor. Let's see. I'd mentioned the peg. It plugs in right here onto his belt, this part that hangs down. So you can plug it in there so you can hold it on his waist. I know people wanted to have this come out of his back, and you kind of can. But I don't like the look of it back there because aesthetically there's no strap or anything to hold it in place. It just doesn't, and knights typically didn't carry their weapons back there. So not a fan of that, but you can do it if you want. Like I said, these are his spiked shoulder pads. These are sharp. I just push down with it my finger. I mean, you see that? They are sharp. He also has two helmets. This one here, which is, again, the spikes are very sharp on it. But it looks awesome. You can't deny that. This is very reminiscent of the Dungeons & Dragons Warduke character. Fits very nicely onto his skull. He also has a single faceplate and the standard knight helmet. If I can get it out of the tray. There we are. Standard knight helmet with the 2 pegs on either side and a single faceplate option. I've said it before. It's very fragile, these things, especially with the soft, or I'm sorry, the very thin plastic right there. And it can be kind of tight to actually squeeze these things over these pegs. I do recommend that you heat these up. And then I typically use a precision screwdriver, or you could even use like a wooden toothpick after you heat it up to try to just widen the hole a little bit, just to make it easier to get onto the helmet. Once it starts to cool down, it'll shrink back down to its regular size, and it'll work just fine. I have broken these, and it's very unfortunate when that happens, especially when you took the time to paint everything when you were customizing. So just be careful. I do recommend that you heat them up before you try to attach them. And last but not least, he does come with an alternate head. This is his alternate head, which is a human face with some war paint on there, or like a red skull motif painted onto the face itself. Very cool. I actually used this on my Black Knight custom figure, which I have a video of if you care to look. Very cool. I'm always a fan when they give you alternate head sculpts, because well, it gives you more options, especially with blank figures. It means that you don't have to paint the head. Not to mention, if you chose to army build, you could buy several of the same figure and just give them different head sculpts. Anyway, this guy is very cool. As you can see, this fits pretty snugly in there. Trying to put everything back. We'll do a size comparison. Call it a day. Let's get these out of the way. So here he is. Stands up pretty decently on his own. Alright. Here he is next to a modern G.I. Joe. As you can see, he's roughly about the same size, 4 inches in height. Here he is next to a vintage G.I. Joe. As you can see, he's noticeably taller. So he definitely fits in better with modern figures than he does with vintage ones, because the modern figures are a standard 4 inches tall, while the vintage are about 3 3/4 inches. He is an awesome figure. I do believe he actually won a award for one of the best figures from like 2018 or something at the 4-inch scale. So don't just take my word for it. I mean, he is a fantastic figure. He comes with great accessories. He's very cool looking, and he works his everything on the figure works perfectly. So it comes very highly recommended. I would definitely army build these guys if you are interested in having an evil army of knights. This is definitely the place where you want to look. So this has been AV. If you like this video, check out my channel. If you like what you see there, then please subscribe. As always, thanks for watching.